Hi, and welcome to the Heart of a Perfectionist podcast. I'm your host, Tegan Thompson. I'm a book lover, a chocoholic, and an INTJ living in a world filled with extroverts. I made this podcast to share my experiences and struggles as an introverted perfectionist, and to bring the inner workings of an introvert's mind to introverts and extroverts alike. So grab a cup of tea and get comfortable. It's time to unmute. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Heart of a Perfectionist podcast. So this week we'll kind of be talking about the importance of embracing the changes you experience as a person. And I just think this is really important because everyone goes through stressful, traumatic, joyful, or unexpected life-changing events at least once, and more than likely multiple times during your life. And these types of events and the healing or the need to alter your way of life because of these events can lead to changes in who you are. And that's not only okay, but it's a good thing because it allows for growth in your personality and in the way you pursue your goals and interact in relationships and just how you feel in your own skin. So I think a really big thing with embracing the changes that you go through is that people ask, like, why am I not healing, or why am I not adjusting after a certain experience? And there are obviously many reasons why you may not be healing or adjusting, but I'm kind of just going to focus on how pushing away your changes and kind of trying to hold them back from like really taking effect in your life can prevent this healing and this adjusting that you want. So after life-changing events, many people try to go back to being the person they were before the experience, and this is usually just because it's a comfort, it's something you knew, and it just feels safe, and so people they'll try to be who they were before the experience. And you know, it's a life-changing event, it's a life-changing experience, and usually that means that your life has to change. But people, when they try to go back to the person they were before the experience, they essentially are not allowing their life to be changed. And so it kind of like is like this hindrance from the experience wanting to change your life, but then at the same time you not wanting to change, and it's kind of like this push and pull, and so it can get really confusing, and it's harmful because, you know, the unique experience that you went through, whether it may be something that other people have gone through as well, your own personal experience is always going to be unique and different from every other person's. So, you know, this unique experience you went through teaches you specific lessons for you, and they're kind of like personalized to you, things that you need to learn. And it also teaches you more about yourself. And when you kind of deny these changes and you kind of try not to acknowledge the things you've learned from the experience, you prevent yourself from the personal growth that you could have from after the experience, and it can also cause a lot of confusion in your identity. You might not really know who you are or where you're supposed to be or what you're supposed to do because you're trying to be someone you were, but at the same time you're just no longer in that place, and so it can get really confusing about who you are and what you're supposed to be. And this ultimately prevents you from being able to heal and adjust to your new person, your new life, and whatever it may be. And so I think it's just really really important to recognize that after these big life-changing experiences, you become a different person, right? The old version of you no longer exists because you've learned lessons about life and about you that ultimately change your perspective on life and how you approach things now. And it's really hard to go back to the person you were before that because you weren't perfect and you made mistakes, and and those mistakes could have led to the experience that you went through or whatever it may be, and learning those lessons that may allow you to move forward in life and to recognize them and not have to go through those experiences again, but rather to learn from those mistakes that the old version of you made so that the new version of you can be stronger and more confident. And it's really important to let this new version of you be born and to grow and to breathe life into this new version of you. And, that's kind of why I keep saying that it's so important to keep learning about yourself through your life, because you're constantly changing and you're constantly learning things and going through different experiences, that you're never the same person in every stage of your life. And so if you say, like, in 10 years from now, you're still basing who you are off of the person you were 10 years ago, you're not that person anymore. And you're holding yourself back. And that's why it's important to constantly keep learning about yourself, because you are constantly changing as a person. And why it's a good thing is because when you kind of embrace this new version of you and you allow this change to happen, you allow yourself to learn and heal from your previous experiences, and you learn to kind of gain this self-love for the person that you grow into be, and to kind of acknowledge the things you've gone through, and that you wouldn't be where you are now without all the experiences you've had in the past. So it's just embracing yourself, embracing those changes, and essentially learning self-love. And so, you want to embrace your change and you want to heal. At the same time, you also want to embrace other people's changes as well, because everyone is capable of changing, healing, learning, and growing. It doesn't mean that everyone will, change and learn and everything, but everyone is capable of it. And if you don't give them the opportunity to do so, you are also hindering them from growing and healing from those past experiences. And I understand that it might be hard to get to know a new version of someone that you feel like you knew really well, or that you finally felt like you were getting to know. But it's important to recognize that they are getting to know themselves as well. And, they're kind of going on that journey with you. And so it's important to support them through that. In return, you'd want them to support you when you are kind of changing and growing from your own experiences. So, just embracing not only your change, but other people's change. I know I hear a lot of the time people are like, oh, well, that person changed, and I don't like that. Okay. Well, everyone changes, and it can be hard because if you're like me, you don't like change. But, I think it's just so important to recognize that if you don't change, if you don't learn, you can never grow, and you kind of just hold yourself back from all of the potential you have. And I don't want to do that to myself, and I don't want to do that to the people around me. So embracing that change, learning from it, and being okay with it allows that healing to happen. So just, embrace that new version of you. Recognize that it's different and new, obviously, so you're gonna have to learn about yourself, and that's okay. It's okay because you're growing, and that's what is important. So thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Heart of a Perfectionist podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or if you learned anything new, please go share it with a friend. And as always, have a good weekend. And I look forward to seeing you guys again next week on the Heart of a Perfectionist podcast.